Nestled on the rugged, windswept southwest coast of Cornwall lies a village that seems almost carved from the cliffs themselves, Mousehole. This tiny fishing village has a history as deep and mysterious as the Atlantic waters that lash its shores. Small, stoic and unassuming, Mousehole is the kind of place where every cobbled street and weathered building tells a story. The first recorded mention of Mousehole comes from 1283, though it is certain that people had lived along this stretch of coast for centuries, drawn by the sea's promise of fish and trade. In its heyday, Mousehole was the most important fishing port in Mounts Bay, a bustling hub where fishermen unloaded their catch and merchants traded salt, pilchards and shipbuilding supplies. The village's name, derived from the Cornish word Porthinnes, meaning harbour near the island, is a testament to the enduring bond between the people of Mousehole and the waters they depended on. But Mousehole's history is not only of prosperity. In 1595, the village faced one of its darkest hours. A Spanish raid swept through Mounts Bay, leaving destruction in its wake. Almost the entire village was destroyed, with only a single building spared, the Caegwyn Arms. Today it stands quietly on the quay, a stoic witness to centuries of resilience and survival, a symbol of the village's stubborn refusal to be broken. Through storms, raids, and the relentless pull of the Atlantic, the people of Mousehole endured. Life here has always been dictated by the sea, its generosity, its fury, and its capricious moods. And it is in this village, battered by wind and wave, that the legend of Tom Bawcock and his miraculous stargazy pie would one day unfold, a tale as salty, brave, and enduring as the sea itself. As the years passed, the people of Mousehole continued their age-old dance with the sea. But no matter how well they knew its moods, there were winters that even the most experienced fishermen could not tame. And one such winter arrived, like a shadow over the village, dark and relentless. The winds screamed across the rooftops, whipping up the waves into monstrous shapes, while icy rain stung the cheeks of anyone brave enough to walk the quay. The sea, usually their provider, had become a cruel barrier. The fishing boats, small and fragile against the winter swell, were trapped in the harbour, and the nets remained empty. In homes huddled against the storm, families felt the cold, gnawing deeper than the wind. Smoke curled weakly from stone chimneys, but warmth was scarce, and food scarcer still. Cornish pasties and salted fish, staples of the village diet, were almost gone. Even the simplest meals became an exercise in imagination, as mothers and fathers tried to stretch what little remained to feed their children. The children themselves, eyes wide and cheeks flushed from the chill, could hear the waves crashing against the harbour walls like a drumbeat of despair. By the middle of December, the crisis had reached its peak. The villagers whispered among themselves, voices tight with worry, the usual bustling chatter replaced by a tense silence. What Christmas would they have if the sea refused to yield its bounty? How could a village built on generations of fishing traditions survive a season without fish? Each night they watched the storm-lashed horizon, hoping for a miracle, yet fearing it would never come. The darkness seemed endless, and the cold, oppressive and unrelenting. In every home a quiet dread settled over the hearths, and yet somehow the village endured, clinging to the slender threads of hope that bound them together. This was Mousehole on the brink, a village forged by the sea, yet humbled by it. And it is in this fraught and frozen moment, with Christmas approaching and hunger pressing on every doorstep, that the legend of Tom Bawcock would begin to take shape, though the story of his courage had not yet begun. Amid the frozen grip of that merciless winter, the village of Mousehole held its collective breath. Hunger gnawed at every home, yet the sea refused to yield. And then, in that moment of quiet desperation, one man rose to the challenge. Tom Bawcock, seasoned fisherman, steady-handed, and unafraid of the ocean's fiercest moods, took action that would etch his name into legend. He wrapped himself in thick woolen garments and over them a leather cape, treated with oil to repel the worst of the spray. His hands, raw and calloused from years of hauling nets, gripped the tiller with unshakable determination. Outside, the storm raged with a voice that seemed alive. Waves smashed against the harbour walls, wind screamed through the rigging, and icy rain stabbed across his cheeks. Yet he moved with certainty, every step on the slick deck precise, every motion measured, every decision decisive. He pushed off into the darkness. The boat creaked beneath him, but he commanded it like an extension of his own body, reading the rising and falling waves as if they were a familiar rhythm. The Atlantic roared, a living, breathing tempest, each wave threatening to engulf him, each gust of wind bending the boat like it were made of twigs. Water lashed against his face, cold seeping through even the thickest layers, but he did not falter. He adjusted the sails, hauled the nets, steered with unerring skill, and rowed with strength that defied the storm. Hours passed, though the night and storm made it impossible to measure time. The nets, once empty, began to fill. Fish glimmered in the dim grey light, scales slick and shining like little stars against the turbulent sea. Every wave he conquered, every gust he mastered brought him closer to his goal. He was alone with the storm, yet he moved with certainty, driven by the faces of the villagers, the hungry children, the worried mothers, the weary fathers. He would not fail them. Finally, as dawn threatened to break over the storm-lashed horizon, he turned the boat back toward Mousehole, laden with a miraculous catch. The sea had challenged him and found no weakness. He had faced the fury of the Atlantic, and he had triumphed. The village, soon to see his haul, would hail him not merely as a fisherman, but as a hero. As the first light of dawn touched the storm-swept horizon, Tom Bawcock steered his battered boat toward Mousehole. Each wave still threatened to overturn him, but he moved with the confidence of a man who had conquered the sea. The harbour wall rose ahead, sturdy and unyielding, like a cat's paw guarding him from the fury of the Atlantic. Every stroke brought him closer to safety, closer to the village that waited in anxious silence. As he rounded the breakwater, the villagers spotted him. Faces pressed against frosted windows, huddled in doorways, they saw the small boat, groaning under the weight of its miraculous bounty. Shouts of relief and joy pierced the wind. Children tumbled onto the quay, eyes wide, cheeks red from cold and excitement. Mothers clutched their skirts, laughing through tears. Fathers gripped each other's shoulders in disbelief. The long, terrifying winter had finally met its match. Tom's boat scraped against the harbour stones. He climbed out, soaking and shivering, yet triumphant, every muscle spent and every sense alive. Villagers swarmed around him, lifting nets heavy with fish, their laughter and cheers echoing across the quay. The bounty he brought was more than sustenance, it was salvation. For the first time in weeks, families would eat well, children would sleep full, and the village would feel the warmth of hope once more. In kitchens warmed by fires and the scent of baking bread, the villagers prepared a feast. Every fish, every egg, every potato was carefully arranged into a great pie. And then, the defining moment. The heads of the fish were positioned to poke through the golden pastry, staring skyward as if keeping vigil over the village and giving thanks for the storm they had survived. Stargazy pie, as it would come to be known, was not just food, it was a symbol of courage, of resilience, and of the magic that happens when a community pulls together. That night, Mousehole celebrated Christmas as they never had before. Candles and lanterns flickered along the streets, reflecting in the harbour waters, and laughter replaced the howling of the wind. Families gathered around tables, sharing the miraculous feast, savouring each bite, each story of the perilous night at sea, and each moment of the relief that filled their hearts. The legend of Tom Bawcock had been forged in ice, wind and spray, and now it lived in warmth, in pie, and in the memory of every villager. From that day on, every December 23rd, Mousehole remembers. Lanterns light the harbour, children parade through the streets, and the stargazy pie is baked once more, a celebration not just of fish, but of courage, community, and the enduring spirit of a village that faced the storm and prevailed. Every December 23rd, the village of Mousehole comes alive, not just with lights, but with memory and gratitude. Lanterns, handmade by young and old alike, swing gently in the hands of villagers, casting a golden glow that dances across cobbled streets and reflects in the quiet waters of the harbour. The scent of baking pies drifts from kitchens into the cold night air, mingling with the salty tang of the sea. This is Tom Bawcock's Eve, the night when the courage of one man who defied storm and hunger to save his village is remembered and celebrated. At the heart of the celebration is the stargazy pie itself, carried proudly through the streets, a culinary monument to resilience and community. Children gaze in awe, pointing at the fish heads peeking through the pastry as lanterns illuminate their gleaming scales. Families gather around tables, sharing food, stories and laughter, feeling the warmth of togetherness and the comforting embrace of tradition. Since the 1950s, this festival has drawn visitors from across Cornwall, Britain, and even farther afield, all eager to witness the magic of a Cornish Christmas in this corner of the world. In 1963, the village added its famous illuminations. Thousands of lights twinkling along the harbour, sparkling across the waves, reflecting in windows, and tracing the outlines of cottages and piers. One display even depicts the stargazy pie itself, fish heads pointing skyward beneath 6 stars, immortalising the legend for all to see. As you imagine the harbour tonight, the lanterns swinging gently, the crisp winter air filled with the laughter of children, the comforting scent of baked fish and pastry, you can feel the heartbeat of Mousehole. Tom Bawcock's bravery is not just a tale of the past. It is woven into the very fabric of this village, into the glow of its lights, the warmth of its homes, and the joy of its people. Remember the man who defied the storm, the village that clung to hope, and the spirit that binds them together every Christmas. In Mousehole, in this tiny corner of Britain, courage and community are never forgotten, and the legend of Tom Bawcock lives on, one stargazy pie at a time.